Hello and welcome back to Monkey Gardening. I'm a monkey, this is my garden, and it's gone very cold and wet, and the forecast is it's going to be like this for the next week. So I've just had a big sort out. I've cleared out the cloche, so that's the warmest place I've got, and I've filled that with all of my tomato plants, and I've reset up the polytunnel, and I put all the other seedlings into that to keep warm. I will occasionally check if stuff needs watering. What else? My spinach, which has been growing in the cloche, which I was going to use to replace the spinach that I managed to fry in the sun, has decided it wants to bolt. It's going to flower, so that's not very useful. I think what I'll do is I'll just eat this. I'll have it for my tea tonight, and just move on. The rocket seedlings look pretty strong. They've been in these pots long enough, so I'm going to plant those out where the spinach was, and maybe a couple here at the end of this bed. But yeah, the forecast is not great, but we'll just do what we can, keep things warm, and wait for the sun to come back. Right, so I've planted some more rocket in the front of this bed, and another clump there. I've got rid of the dead spinach plants, planted out a spare lettuce plant that I had in reserve, and I've just been through this bed and this one and just cut off any leaves that have been either damaged by the sun or have touched the ground and rotted. I don't want any dead matter kicking about. I'm going to keep the slugs and snails down if it's going to be wet for the next week. Spinach is waiting there. I'll have that for my supper. Everything else is cosy under the polytunnel. So yeah, later on I might sow some more seeds. So I'm finally back out in the garden. The last couple of days have been really wet and windy and cold. I've been spending my time in Skyrim instead. But today is dry, and it's supposed to be dry now for the next few days, but still pretty cold. So I'm just going to have a look in the polytunnel, see what needs watering, and just generally check up on things. I was looking at my photos from the garden from this time last year, and everything is just so much more fully grown. It's been difficult this year having to grow everything from seed. I usually buy small plug plants. I grow some stuff from seed, but small plug plants for the peas and courgettes and other things. Actually, courgettes normally grow from seed. But that just kind of gives you a boost to the garden. It feels like you're 4 weeks ahead. It feels like I'm 4 weeks behind how to do everything from seed. But we had no choice. I'd like to try and get a lot more food out of this garden, but it's a north-facing garden in the northwest of the UK, and it's tricky. I think the only way I could make it work to some extent would be to just cover the entire garden in one big polytunnel. But anyway, we shall carry on. So yeah, first job is going to see what's going on under the polytunnel. So I'll pull that back and we'll have a quick look. Okay, so I've taken the polytunnel off. The first thing I've noticed is just how many new leaves the little basil seedlings are put on just in 2 or 3 days under the polytunnel. Same with the cabbage. That's quite pleasing. It looks like everything needs a bit of a water, but it's not too dry. So I'll get on and do some watering. I'm not sure what my next job is. I think maybe to separate out these sprout plants into separate plants, containers, and maybe find somewhere for the chard to live. Over here I got rid of the spinach that had died. This spinach at the back here, it's all bolted, it's all got to flower, so I'll probably eat that at some point in the next day or two, and then clear these out of the bed, put something else in. What I was going to show you, these tiny tomatoes, these tiny strawberry plants produce some tiny strawberries. They're quite cute. I'll eat those later with some ice cream, and this one as well. The potatoes in the sacks are finally doing something. A bit slow, actually that was not doing anything at all, but these two are going. These are starting to take off. but again it's quite slow. They could do it being in a sunnier position really. So yeah, I'll get on and do some watering and then pot some stuff up. The other thing I can't quite work out in this garden is the dramatic difference between the courgettes which I planted in the bed and the ones which I planted in the container. They were grown from seed at the same time. I've checked to see whether they're the same variety, and they are. You can see this one in the container here is doing really well. These in the containers over here put on massive amounts of growth. But these ones in the bed just aren't very happy. They're producing fruit. I can show you, but they're not getting any bigger. So it's grown to that size, it's been that size at least, well, coming up for a week now. It's not got any bigger. I'll leave them in the ground for now, but it's a bit of a mystery as to why they're not happy in this bed. But they're happy in the containers, and the containers have got the same compost in as the bed, or at least the top layer. The board beans, again the plants never got that big. I don't really know why. Again we had to start from seed. But I have got little beans coming through, you can see. So we're going to get something out of it. So there's lots of flowers and there's lots of beans. But how big they're going to grow, I don't know. The plants themselves aren't that big. Okay, anyway, I'll get on and do this watering. So here are my blackberry and raspberry plants. They're doing well. I've just put some extra netting over the top to protect them from birds. Although the birds in Salford don't really seem to understand what fruit is. I've never really had a problem with birds, apart from attacking the cherry tree. This will also keep the squirrels out. Again, the squirrels don't tend to eat anything, or they occasionally take the experimental nibble out or something. It's more that they just dig around and disturb stuff. Although they seem to have been staying out of the garden the last few weeks. I've not seen as many of them. So yeah, I'm going to net this up anyway. The thing that's interesting is raspberries, the fruit grows towards the ground, and the blackberries, the fruit grows upwards towards the sky. There we go, I never noticed that before. So yeah, it's going to net that up. And need to make some decisions about these tomatoes. So they're happy enough in this cloche for a while, but they're getting too tall. And they'll also be too tall for the polytunnel. So I may have to buy something for them to live in. I may see about getting a tomato house, but we'll see. So yeah, next job is to sort those sprout plants out and separate them out. Right, I'm just going to attempt to separate out these sprout plants and pot them up into separate containers. Got my trusty cup of tea already. I'm keeping it away from the compost. The amount of times I've got compost in my tea while I've been potting things up is ridiculous. I quite often end up just kind of blowing over the surface and drinking it anyway. Yeah, this is nice. I was feeling a bit blue today, but an hour potting around in the garden, feeling a lot better. Hopefully you're enjoying watching this nonsense. Hopefully it cheers you up as well. Right, so I'll get on and stick some water in these pots, soak the compost so that the roots find water straight away, and then, as always, plant them quite deep. So that's my sprouts potted up. They seem like quite strong little seedlings. So all I'm going to do now is water them in, and then place them in the bed. And then there's no point this polytunnel not being on here. It's not going to get very warm today, so I'm going to put the polytunnel back on. Everything's been watered. Everything seems to be happy. The other thing I spotted while I walked around the garden, I sowed some nasturtium flower seeds into this pot. It'll be 2 weeks ago tomorrow, and they've germinated. So hopefully there's some nice pretty flowers for the bees to enjoy. So I'm sure the bees will be missing the blackberry flowers. They went absolutely nuts for those. So yeah, I'll put these away and then see what else there is to do. Just out of interest, I spotted that when I sowed the sprouts, I put the date on the pot. So these were sown on the 1st of May. So it's taken almost exactly 5 weeks to get to this point. So you can see what I mean about the advantage of being able to buy plug plants. If I could have bought them like this 5 weeks ago, I'd be 5 weeks ahead. But we're growing from seed. Anyway, these are watered in, so I'll stick them under the polytunnel. Right, we'll finish this episode off with a little visit to Seedling Corner, where some exciting things are happening. Well, nothing exciting's happening with the ginger. It did sprout, but doesn't seem to be doing much else. So in here, I've got second sowing of peas. 3 of them are germinated. Here we've got butternut squash. One's germinated and one hasn't. Let's get that in front of the camera. And in here, as if we needed them, I've got more courgettes. I'm not entirely sure why I've sown these. I think just because I was a bit disappointed with the ones in the bed. But we'll do something with them. In heated propagator, I've got more spinach. You can grow spinach all year round, so unfortunately my spinach is bolted, but I'll sow some more. And then most excitingly, here are the mushrooms you saw me set up in a previous episode. You can see all the white threads there. But hopefully you can also see little white dots. And I'm pretty sure that's the beginnings of little fungi, little mushrooms. So that's quite exciting. So yeah, I think we'll end the episode here. In the next episode we are going to go out there. I've had enough. I need a little visit to B&Q. So we'll do a little monkey outside broadcast in the next episode. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.